This is Jeanine, and you're listening to WCBG. WCBG is broadcasted from Wagner College in Staten Island, New York. Today's interview is with Tripp from the band Summer Wars. Please stay tuned for an awesome interview. Hello?
Hey, it's Tripp from Summer Wars.
Hi, it's Jeanine.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it, taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, no problem. I'm basically free all day, so it worked out really nicely.
Oh, amazing. Do you mind
Awesome, sounds good.
introducing yourself for me and telling me a fun fact about you?
Okay, well, I'm Tripp. I play guitar and sing in Summer Wars. Interesting fact, I don't know if it's interesting, but it's a fact, I guess. I play a lot of video games in my spare time. That's what I was doing this morning. That's kind of when I'm not, writing music or playing with the other guys or focusing on music in general. That's basically the other thing I'll be doing in my spare time.
What's your favorite video game?
Right now, I'm going back and playing this game called Uncharted. There's Uncharted 4, actually. It's on PS4. One of my favorite series, I would say. That and probably Resident Evil. But
PC or console?
Oh, yeah, mainly console.
Got it.
I don't have anything against PC gaming. I think I just like the simplicity of console gaming. Like, you can kind of just, turn it on and play. You don't have to worry about, PC drivers or different... I'm probably making it more complicated than it needs to be, but I just kind of like the simplicity of it, but yeah.
Nice. So my next question for you is, if you could be any utensil in the kitchen, what would you be and why?
Ooh, utensil in the kitchen. I guess a knife. I don't know. I think that probably gets the most use in a kitchen. You don't want to be left out, maybe. I guess that's my reasoning.
Okay.
I feel like a knife is probably more used. I'll go with that.
Okay, awesome. What are you currently listening to?
Let's see. Oh man, I'm a little late on it because everyone was telling me to listen to this band, and it's a little different than what I normally listen to. But I've been listening to a band called the band Camino.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been kind of blowing up recently, but they're just really good pop rock, a little different than us. We're obviously a little bit more in the kind of just straight up pop punk type genre, but I don't know what it is about it. It's just produced so well. It's every song deserves to be on. It's like a 8-song EP, so it's kind of long for an EP, but every song deserves to be on that album. Every song could be a single too, so it's such a good album. But yeah.
Do you mind if I ask what you normally listen to?
Obviously, a lot of pop punk. I've been listening to the latest Story So Far and Dangerous Summer full length a lot. But yeah, mainly pop punk for sure.
No, I definitely
I like to branch out. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard. You gotta remind yourself there's other stuff out there. I sometimes I'll just straight up listen to regular pop music like Carly Rae Jepsen or some random stuff like that. But yeah, it's mainly a lot of pop punk for me for sure. But.
I 100% get it. I try to listen to the radio to stay current, even though I'm really bad at it. But I feel like everything on the radio recently has kind of been stagnant. There's not a lot of pitch changes. Yeah, it's... I don't know how to explain it.
You're right. I mean, there's plenty of good, catchy stuff on the radio, but yeah, if you're going there to find new, innovative stuff, it's not necessarily the best place for that, but, it has its place. But.
My next question for you is, if you were going on a road trip, what are 3 songs that must be in your playlist?
Ooh, 3 songs. Probably the first one because I love this band. Probably The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves. It's just such a good... You could just put on Angels and Airwaves full length and listen to them all the way through on road trip, and I think it would be awesome. But that song for sure. What have I been listening to recently? Probably something by The Starting Line. I love The Starting Line. All their music is awesome. And probably also something a little more easy listening. Like, I don't know, like, honestly, I think that band Camino, I know I keep going back to that, but that any song off that would probably be good road trip music. Just anything that's like carefree on a road trip where you can just kind of turn your brain off and enjoy driving and riding around is something that would be good for that. But
you're from North Carolina, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Raleigh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit what like the music scene's like there, and just like kind of growing up there, what it's like?
Yeah, I didn't really necessarily grow up in Raleigh, but I grew up in North Carolina. The Raleigh music scene in North Carolina, kind of punk scene in general, was kind of interesting because when I was like a teenager, I played in a few bands, and it was kind of thriving a little bit. And then I would say for a few years there, it had definitely died off. But like that was kind of funny because one of the things when I was talking to the guys about starting this band was like, I didn't want to just start a band. Like I kind of wanted to start a band and help the music scene in general, not just like think of it as let's just start a band because we want to play music. Like I wanted to really try to bring back people thinking of Raleigh or North Carolina as a music scene for pop punk or punk music. So in the last, like, I'm not saying it's all us or anything like that. There's tons of great bands that have been popping up in recent years, but like in the last 3 or 4 years, I think Raleigh has definitely gotten a little bigger. There's a few different bands in the area that are starting to get some like somewhat nationally recognized. So that's awesome to see.
Amazing. I always ask this question because I vicariously live through everybody else. As I said, I'm born and raised Staten Island. We don't really have a local music scene, which is kind of upsetting. But growing up here, you would think music would be this huge thing. Like, I don't know if you saw my email. School of Rock was filmed at my school, so you would think music would be bigger than it is, but it's not.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, for some reason I would have figured just Staten Island, being New York City or like around that area, like it would probably have more of one. But that's interesting that you say that, like, because it's kind of the same way here. Like Chicago for pop punk or LA for pop punk are these huge cities. Like people that grew up there, you almost never had to worry about finding a show to go to, or you know what I mean. Like every weekend, I'm sure there's some awesome band playing. But like, around here, it wasn't really like that. It was like maybe a national tour was coming through once a month or something like that, and people weren't really going to local shows. So, but I also think, for better or for worse, like the emo nights that have been popping up around.
Yes.
Like there's different local ones and the bigger ones and stuff. But we actually just played one 2 nights ago, and like a lot. I think I've seen people say negative things about emo nights, like, oh, no one wants to go to shows. But I think, at least in our city, those have kind of reinvigorated other shows too. It's kind of helped people just get into, like, maybe people who were lapsed out of that genre, like kind of come back and give newer bands a chance. So I think it's a good thing. But
yeah, we have Emo Night Brooklyn. I know a lot of people like really get excited about it and always want to go when that comes around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of sometimes feel like New York's is kind of like stopover city. Like, you're coming here, but like you're not really starting here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, when we come through New York, it's not Staten Island, but we play Amityville Music Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been there, but yeah, it's a pretty small little place, but it's a cool venue.
My next question for you is, what is your favorite venue that you've played in?
Favorite venue? Honestly, one of the coolest places we've ever played, it's in Richmond, called the Canal Club. They have multiple different levels and different rooms, but obviously we're playing like the smaller room, but it's still the staff. I think it's a really cool venue, but it's mainly the staff there. Like, they're super, super nice, because that can make all the difference when you're traveling super far, and sometimes you show up to these venues and like sometimes like the sound guy's kind of a dick sometimes, or like rude unnecessarily, and you don't really know what the vibe is, when you get there. So when you get there, and then the people are super nice and accommodating, and just want to help the show go smoothly. That's the biggest thing. But and just every time we've gone there, like there's been catering and awesome stuff, and we're not necessarily the biggest band. So when we come through and we're like headlining a show or whatever, for them to still kind of do that for us is really awesome. But and just the sound there, that can make a huge difference too. And like the actual sound quality and everything, the sound guy knows what they're doing. So that's probably my favorite venue at least.
Nice. What's your favorite state that you've been to?
Favorite state? I think I actually really like Washington and Seattle. We played there on our last tour back in like October, November. We played with a band called Calling All Captains. Mm-hmm. And we actually had a day off before the show. So we got 2 days basically in Seattle to just kind of walk around and hang out and see different stuff. So I think I just like it because, at least in terms of the U.S., the Pacific Northwest is so different than where we're from. Like it has such a different vibe, and it was fun to be able to spend a couple of days there, because most of the time when we're playing these shows, sometimes we get to the city right at load in. We load in, play the show, have to load out, and then we're like driving through the night again. So we don't even really get to see a lot of the places that we play. So it was cool to have a day off and really explore. That was kind of one of our last areas that we got over to, being from the East Coast. So it's always so easy to just, let's tour the East Coast again. We'll do like a little 2-week run, but we finally got to go over to the West Coast and like Western Canada and stuff too. So that was cool.
Nice. My roommate's actually from California, so she always tells me about
it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where at in California?
Sacramento.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we've played in and around there. So.
My next question for you is, what is your opinion of streaming services like Spotify?
I've been thinking a lot about this, actually. I think streaming in general, it was like kind of an answer to people pirating music. I mean, obviously everything was going towards streaming anyways, but like, to me, Spotify and Apple Music are an answer to, basically, we have to stop people from stealing music. So we have to make a service that's going to be literally more convenient than stealing. And like, if you're charging, there's a free version, obviously, and you can pay the $10 a month, but like, it's more convenient than that. So obviously you hear all the horror stories about like them not paying bands very well, and I can, verify that that's not, or that is true. They don't really. I think you have to stream, your songs have to get streamed some insane amount of number to really be able to live off Spotify sales or whatever. But basically, I have like a love-hate relationship with it. Like, I think it's good in the sense that like people are paying for music now, because for a long time, mid 2000s, early 2000s, a lot of people weren't really doing that. But so my reasoning is kind of something better than nothing, and I think Spotify, the playlists and stuff, have done a lot for discoverability for bands, especially of our size. Like, if it wasn't for those playlists and the support that they've given us, there are different Spotify editors. Like, I don't really know where the band would be. Like, that's how a lot of our music has, like, when we go to cities we've never played in and people already know the words, it's basically because of Spotify. Like, we get told that all the time, like, oh, we saw you on this playlist or whatever. So we're super grateful for that. But I do wish there was a little bit more of a solid income from it, but it's hard to complain when it's helped us so much. But
no, I agree. Spotify is definitely great for accessibility. I love my Discover Weekly playlists. They're always fantastic. I like the Daily Mix. Find some of my favorite bands through that.
Yeah, it's awesome how
Yeah.
they can do that. But yeah,
I love how it kind of increases connectivity. Like, you guys are in North Carolina, I'm in New York. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we probably wouldn't be doing this interview if you hadn't, saw us on it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
My next question for you is, what is one thing you would change about the music industry as it is today?
That kind of leads nicely from the last question about, the Spotify and streaming and how much you can make from that and stuff. But and not like I got into music to be rich and famous or whatever. Like I'm speaking more from just like even having enough of an income to, you know, not work another job or anything like that. But basically, I don't know. I think that basically nowadays, bands our size or, you know, a little bigger, you have to constantly be on the road. That is where you are making your money. And I love touring. But I guess if I could change anything, like it would probably be having more of seemingly an even split between actually making income off the music that you're selling with touring, you know. Like I think that's how it used to be like that more in the 90s and, you know, previously in the music industry, which is fine. But I think that would be what I would change if, you know, if you could magically fix that. But I mean, I love playing music, and it's I don't really complain too much about any stuff. But
You mentioned touring. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened on tour?
Craziest thing, I think we're pretty tame
Okay.
for the most part. Because there's this meme that I always see online about like, oh, tell us how much fun you had touring, or like, what do you see on tour? And it's like this 4 pictures of like a travel center, a McDonald's, an empty field, and that's kind of how it feels when people ask that question. Like, it's almost like a lot of people think that like touring is like crazy nonstop fun, but a lot of it is like those really boring moments of just like seeing nothing but McDonald's and like travel centers and stuff. But I mean, there's been plenty of fun times too. Like, okay, I did just remember one. We, on an off day, we weren't even playing there, but we got to explore New Orleans and Bourbon Street, like that, you know, long stretch of road where like all the bars are and stuff. And it's such an awesome music city too, because there's just bands playing in every single bar. Like everyone's having fun. Like the bars don't close till 4 a.m, so it's basically all 4 of us and some other friends that we knew in New Orleans, and it was just us probably drinking way too much and hanging out till 4 a.m, and then having to be like in a completely different city the next day. So that's one of my probably fondest memories of hanging out with the guys and stuff like that.
That's sweet. So, my next question for you is, what's the weirdest or funniest question you've ever been asked before in an interview?
Weirdest question. Weirdest question I've ever asked. Well, the question itself, I guess, wasn't super weird, but someone asked what's the weirdest thing that people have asked us to sign. And to me, it's always funny when like people want me to sign expensive things they've bought. Like I've signed like iPods or iPhones and like expensive electronics and stuff. So that's always weird to me. Like I'm glad that you like the music and stuff, but I just feel like I'm just like, I hope they don't regret that in like 2 years when they look down at their iPhone and then there's a signature on it. So I don't know. I think that's not so much the question, but the answer to that question is probably the funniest thing. But
Do you have a question we ask that the purpose of it is to try to bring awareness to this topic? What is your opinion of releasing an artist's unreleased music after they've passed away? Should it be released or should it not?
Unreleased music like after they've already passed. That's a hard one. It's like, I know personally, if something happened to me and I had like an album that was, 90% finished, and, my producer or my other bandmates like knew where I wanted to go with it or whatever, and I think I would want the world to hear that, but I think it can kind of get nefarious when like, people start trying to dig up these demos that probably should never see the light of day or weren't finished, or like just to kind of make some money off someone's name, you know, it's kind of, but like I said, the other instance, you know, like when whoever's releasing its heart is in the right place, like I think that's fine, but yeah.
No, it does. This question kind of came about because our PR director listened to the Little Peep song, and she was like, it doesn't sound fully finished, like it doesn't sound right. So we like to ask this because, like, I'm obviously only on the receiving end of music. I just kind of listen to what's been put out, and obviously, like, I want to hear more of what an artist I love does, but at the same time, like, would the artist have been happy with what was actually released?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, I guess you said the demos didn't really sound finished, or like they didn't really sound like him, I guess is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that can get a little weird. I don't know the specifics of that situation, but yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm talking about. You never really know what the motivations are with that. But
So you mentioned earlier you play guitar. How did you pick that instrument specifically?
That's a good question, actually, because every single band before Summer Wars I played drums in. I started playing drums when I was really young. My dad played drums and kind of helped me, and then I also took lessons for a few years as well. But growing up, like when I was a teenager, you know, into early 20s and stuff, I played drums mainly, and I'd always written songs on my acoustic guitar. I didn't really pick up guitar until high school, but so that was always a little later, and I knew I wanted to write songs, but I was like never great at guitar, and it took me a while to kind of get in that mindset. So over the years, I had written these songs, and I was like, I want to start a brand new band, sing, play guitar, kind of be able to mold the vision for the band a little more strong than I could when I was just strictly a drummer. And I was in more of these kind of democratic bands where everyone had an equal vote, and Summer Wars is still somewhat like that, but it's more, at least on the songwriting side, I kind of come with a more complete vision somewhat, and then we kind of all just bring it together. But yeah, so that was kind of, I was like, I want to be able to write songs. I never wanted to like shred on guitar or whatever. Like I still can't. I kind of use guitar as just the tool for songwriting mainly. Like I love guitar, but it's mainly just to like get the thoughts out, and you know. So that's kind of what it is to me. But
what's your favorite lyric, riff, or drum cadence that you've ever created?
I honestly, it's a little bit. It's probably a lyric, but it's a little bit of a depressing lyric. I'll just warn you. But it sums up how I felt at the time. It's in our song, Something to Call My Own, which the song in general is just, it literally is what the title is. It's just trying to figure out what mark you want to leave on the world, and what the thing you have that you can call your own. And it's a lyric in the bridge that's it just goes, I'll blame it on the skies not being clear. I'll feel better this time next year. If I can't just be content, what's the point of any of this? Like, basically just saying, like, you can push out your happiness as far as you think you can. Like, if you're in a bad spot, you're like, oh, it's just because the weather's bad. It's just because, you know, this time next year will be better, like come summer or fall or whatever. But you have to kind of just put yourself in the right mindset at the time. That's what that's about. But
relatable and kind of impactful. So
yeah,
I like that. I like when music makes you think.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can you describe for me a little bit more about your writing process and how it kind of comes from starting on the guitar and becoming this like really well produced song?
Yeah, it's I still kind of write most of my songs on an acoustic guitar first. I don't do a lot of like just trying to come up with riffs on an electric guitar. Sometimes I do, but I always find like the most impactful, especially lyrically, and like the whole vibe and emotion of a song comes across much more when the song and lyrics are just as good with one acoustic guitar and the vocals. So yeah, I start that way. I'll write as much of what I think makes the song good at once, and then I have a friend who was actually over there yesterday working on a demo. He lives pretty close to me, but he has a a studio where we do pre-production stuff, just working on ideas. And I'll go over there and then try to morph this acoustic guitar amorphous blob of whatever it is into like a full band song with, you know, more like lead guitar and bass and all that stuff, and then try to add as many layers as we can. And then that's kind of like the second part. And then, you know, once we work that out, it's basically a complete song at that point. Then we go up to where we've always recorded so far is a studio called Always Be Genius. It's up near Chicago. They're a great studio, and that's like where we record our full band, full polished songs that, you know, everyone actually hears. So it's kind of 3 steps, I guess. It's, yeah, like me just on acoustic guitar, then doing pre-pro, demoing it out, then going to record the full version.
Nice. Can you describe your sound for me in 3 words?
Well, I guess this is how I like to think about it. People can tell me if they disagree, but wistful, I always think of that word. Wistful, nostalgic, which is kind of almost the same word in a way. And then energetic, I guess, just speaking more from just the song as a whole. The first 2 are kind of more just about the lyrical content, but yeah, I think that's it.
What message do you hope people get from your music?
I think when I think about our songs, I mean, some of them touch on like, a lot of them actually touch on like, you know, relationships or relationships going wrong. And a lot of them touch on just life in general, or feeling kind of like you're not where you want to be yet in life, or that sort of thing. So it, across both of those different kind of things, I hope that it just shows in its most simple form. I think just realizing that you aren't the only one feeling that way, just by virtue of you listening to that song, listening to one of our songs, hearing what I'm saying, knowing that at least I have felt that way. That's the simplest message. Like that people out there feel the same way, and you just got to keep going. Like it's through all the hard times, but as cliche as that kind of sounds, like that's what I hope people take out of it. And when we get messages like that, like on Instagram a lot of the time, or Facebook or whatever, like that's probably the coolest part about being in a band, is just hearing the people that feel that way. So that's what I hope people take away from it.
Right, because it's kind of like you guys could have written a song like 3 years ago, but it could be speaking to someone now in this very moment, and relating to what they're going through.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just talking like to my girlfriend yesterday about it. Like, once you go through that cycle of like, you write a song, you record it, then a few months pass, and then you put it out, and then, you know, it kind of gains momentum over a couple years or whatever, and then you get that message. It almost, in a weird way, it doesn't discourage me, but it's like when I'm writing something new, I'm like, oh, okay, this thing that I'm writing right now is literally, it's going to take months for it to get recorded, another year probably before it comes out, and then someone, you know, you want people to hear what you're making immediately, because part of you wants that, like, that validation, I guess, but you want people to be helped by it as well. But you start to realize that the cycle takes so long for them to actually hear that it's like, oh, it kind of discourages you a little bit. You're like, this is going to take so long. But that's just like a little gripe that I have. Like, it just kind of sucks that it takes so long, I guess. But
I can definitely tell you're super excited about when you release a song, and I think that's great. I know, yeah. When I heard your music, I probably told everyone I know, but I think it's mostly because I just get excited to hear what you guys are putting out and how it's always relatable, or even just like, I don't know. I like music that speaks to me in a sense, and makes, as I said earlier, like, makes me think. And if more people know, then yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And it's what you were saying about like spreading the word, like about your favorite bands. Like I try to tell people this a lot too. Like, you you can put, as a band or a label or whatever, you can put so much money into marketing, you know, putting out good music, or, you know, making sure all your promo pics look great. And like, but if you don't have that like organic excitement and people spreading the word, like you just said you do about your favorite bands, like the momentum's not going to last, and people are going to see that it's more of like a marketing push than anything real. So that organic kind of reach has to start with like putting everything you have into your music first, and I think people hear that. So what I'm saying is like you have the right approach. Like you're spreading the word about bands that you love, you know, to your friends. Like I think that's what everyone should do.
So my next question for you is, do you have any pre-show rituals or superstitions that you do before you perform?
Not superstitions, really. I guess my ritual is I like to stretch a lot. Like, I know that's such a boring answer, but like I literally will just stretch for like 15 minutes sometimes, like just to kind of get more limber or whatever. Like, not like we're doing crazy stuff on stage or anything, but that's just kind of my own personal thing. I don't really know about the other guys. I don't think they have anything like that, at least that I notice that they do too much before shows. But also, and I'm trying to get out of doing this as much, but like, because basically when we're on tour, the only time that I'll drink before shows, or, you know, kind of during or after or whatever. When I'm home, I don't really at all, but I guess, and that's not really super interesting either, but I mean, sometimes you, like, especially when you're playing shows, like, you just want to loosen up a little bit before you play. So obviously, you probably, like, I normally drink vodka Red Bulls, but that's my own pre-show ritual, I guess. But.
English. If you didn't become a musician, what would you be doing?
That's a really good question, and I think that's what's kind of scary, is like, I don't think everyone has to be like this, but I think in some situations it can be helpful to not necessarily know what you want to do other than that, because it kind of like doesn't give you another option. Like, there's some certain things I've thought about, like, but nothing that my heart was really in. So I think part of the reason why I have stuck with this for so long and like really kind of not really ventured out of it is because of that. Like, I don't necessarily have a backup plan. So it's like, I think it's a positive and a negative, but it can help you kind of put everything you have into one thing, and, you know, it has to work. So that's where I'm at right now. But
I can definitely tell you're super passionate about it, which is great.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I reach out to the bands that I do is because this is going to sound super corny. I think this is the music of the generation, and the things that are expressed are going to be the things that kind of take the world by storm and change how people think about things. So that's why I do what I do.
I agree. I think this current crop of bands in this, you know, in this genre and everything, like, I feel good about where music is going, and like the message of most bands. I think it's a really solid time to, well, speaking from my perspective of being in a band, I feel like I think a lot of bands kind of come around at like or like they're the greatest band ever, but like, you know, they're maybe coming about in the wrong time frame, or like just it didn't hit like it should have. And I feel good about where we are and where the music is in general. So I totally agree. I think everything's in a good spot right now. But.
My next question for you is, what is your favorite song to play live?
It's honestly, it's an old one. Well, not super old. We're not even that old of a band. We've only been a band like 4 years, but it's off our first EP called Better Days. The song's called Better Days too. It's when we were making it, it didn't necessarily feel like it would be super fun to play live, because it's more of a mid-tempo, or at least mid-tempo for pop punk. It's still a pretty fast song, but it doesn't have like the double time super fast like pop punk beat in it or anything like that, which we were all about putting in all of our songs back then. even more so than now. But it's it's a little bit like groovier. It has this like almost offbeat kind of funky parts in it, and I didn't realize how fun it would be to play live. Like, but I think that's probably my favorite. And it kind of sucks because we probably won't be playing it live for that much longer because we are writing new stuff, and whatever we release next, it's probably going to get kicked off the set list, I would think. But it was fun while it lasted.
Why did you decide to release End of an Era as an acoustic song?
Well, two reasons. One because if we were going to do an acoustic version of any song off that EP, it had to be that one, probably just from like a business perspective, like because the End of an Era full band song kind of blew up the most off that EP, and I think that's probably what most people still know us for. But other than that, I mean, I just love that song. Like like I said before, I write most of my stuff on an acoustic guitar, so it's like I knew it would sound good like that even before we did the full band song, so it was kind of a no-brainer like that in that regard too. So, but
I thought it was super interesting how you guys release acoustic versions of your songs. I thought that was something kind of unique, at least from my perspective. I just think it's pretty interesting, and it kind of gives a different side to the song. Like, you're placing a focus on something you might not have specifically listened to the first time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we're coming from it too. There's some bands that do acoustic EPs or acoustic versions. It's not necessarily our original idea by any means. I think most people would know that, but I think it turned out really well. Like especially with it, you're right. It gives more of a focus on the lyrics, really, in my opinion, at least. Like it kind of brings the energy level down, but in a way where you can focus more on like the message of the song instead of necessarily the instrumentals of it. But
okay. So my last question for you is, what are your goals for the new decade of 2020?
Goals? Well, our most immediate goal for the band, at least, is to get another release out. We're still not sure if it's going to be another EP or if we're just going to try to do a full length, but probably by summertime we want to try to have that out. So yeah, it's mainly, I mean, we're still writing and stuff, but it's mainly trying to figure out like label situation and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of nailing down where we want to take it. But yeah, I mean, in general, and just for the band, I want to grow Summer Wars. I don't think anyone starts a band and they're not like, oh, it'd be awesome with this band if we were like the biggest band in the world. Like, and obviously you have your expectations in check, but like you want that for yourself. So it's obviously we want this band to be as big as we can, and we want to, just keep growing it and having, as long as it's still fun. So
I'm super excited for what the next, decade has in store for you guys. Yeah. And I greatly appreciate you speaking with me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you got up with us. I'm glad I came on the show.
Well, I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Again, that was Tripp from Summer Wars. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview, and stay tuned for some of their tracks, and don't forget to follow them on all of their social media accounts and listen to their music.
try.